Yeah, this is my fourth attempt to try to make a video about Spider-Man: Brand New Day. I was I was just as I was cooking. My brother called uh, to discuss something with me and everything. But yeah, and the reason why my glasses are taped up is because I stepped on my glasses and broke them. But anyway, as I was saying about Spider-Man: Brand New Day, I went to go see it. I've been Some people are saying that this is a sign that Marvel is back. Spider-Man is evolving. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is evolving past Spider-Boy into Spider-Man. Personally, I didn't see that. I saw a lot of them giving him the Ray Palpatine treatment, where you will you'll edge him towards the dark side and then abruptly pull him back because you can't have your hero even experimenting with, going over to the other side and being a bad guy and essentially putting himself first and things of that nature. Here's the thing. When his eyes were turning black and completely jet black, and his more arachnid nature was coming out, and things of that sort, you would think that he would be a more brutal, more vicious Spider-Man, but they want to tease that, but not really. They don't. The writers never have the guts to actually pull the trigger on that. Uh, but the main thing stuck that stood out with me with Spider-Man is how they did the villain of the story. Not how they did, how they presented the villain of the story, Jean Grey. Now, we are just a few months removed from Obsession, a movie about where an incel is using a cursed item, a cultic item, to violate a woman's bodily autonomy, essentially turning her into his sex slave. Never got her consent. Even the guy on the in the customer support line said that this is what he chose for her. Now, Jean Grey literally does this throughout the entire movie on a much larger, much grander scale than Bear could ever achieve. She literally uh, mentally enslaved an entire island. Well, I wouldn't say enslaved. Yeah, she enslaved an entire island of 8 million people, caused numerous accidents, caused people to kill themselves. Clearly the villain of the story, yet again, she's presented as the victim. Her sister in the story, Sarah Grey, is being held captive by a government organization called Damage Control that is experimenting on her, and this is so horrible and reprehensible. Yet, yeah, one of my neighbors getting in this car, but yet there's a scene in the movie in which her and her sister are literally sitting in Central Park, and they're experimenting on people with their powers, taking over people's bodies without their consent. They even take over the body of one singular woman who is doing, I believe, yoga in the park, and they make her do stuff against her will, taking over her body. yet we as the audience are supposed to be misty-eyed for Jean Grey and her plight and her sister's plight, who is equally as sociopathic as she is, taking over people's bodies at will. And that's the thing. Bear couldn't do anything pretty much at will because Bear was a pussy. These are two world-class telepaths that can at will take over people's bodies and make them kill themselves, make them kill other people. Throughout the movie, she's terrorizing the one individual who will, to his detriment, drop everything to rescue somebody, to help somebody. If she had just told Spider-Man that the organization that he's working for or is a liaison with or whatever it is that Spider-Man's role with Damage Control was in the movie, Spider-Man would have torn Damage Control apart to help her sister. Instead, what she does is she spends the entire movie terrorizing Spider-Man. Threatening MJ. Forcing MJ to kiss Spider-Man. And which again is another violation of these people's bodies and their autonomy, this word that keeps getting thrown around. And in the end, he still, not to spoil anything for anybody, he still ends up taking a bullet for her, which is the exact thing, if not being incarcerated in some type of superhuman rated facility, is what she has coming to her. And she just gets to walk away. Her and the head of Damage Control get to walk away. I mean, if I spoiled anything for anybody who hasn't saw this movie yet, then I'm sorry, but I mean that's really how it ends. The movie ends for them. Spider-Man does not put the main villain in prison. And the main villains do not die. They get away. They get away with what they've done. And honestly, I'm more on the side of Damage Control because think about it like this: you have two women who are using their powers, using their abilities to take over people, and there's nobody putting any check on them. There's nobody even attempting to hold them accountable for what they're doing. And the reason why the scene in the park where Jean Grey and Sarah Grey are using their powers on people sticks out to me is because more than likely they've done this before. They're clearly runaways from home, and they've then probably gone across the country doing this exact same thing to people. And Damage Control has then investigated it, and they've then pinged their location to Central Park, and they're coming to apprehend them. And this is the thing that has really gets me about the whole the mutant thing in Marvel Comics. They treat like mutants as mostly as these oppressed beings, that these people who are born with special abilities that are trying to exist in a world that fears and hates them, and the X-Men are trying to protect a world that fears and hates them and stuff like that. I really believe that if mutants actually existed in real life, they would be closer to what the Supes are in The Boys. They're just these assholes that will use their powers to do whatever the hell they want to, and it doesn't matter who they hurt or kill. I really believe in today's world, especially in 2026, if mutants were real, most of them would be like that. and the government would be justified in trying to rein them in. And in the X-Men, honestly, in the X-Men universe, you can feel empathy for the X-Men, and you can feel empathy for the good mutants and stuff. But when you really pull back and you really think about it, if it wasn't for the government taking it to the extreme, like they were, the government is right to fear mutants because they are each walking WMDs that can destroy. A lot of them can destroy the planet. And Jean Grey is one of those category. She's an Omega level mutant who has the ability to telepathically control nations. God knows how many people. And this is without the Phoenix Force. And so an organization like Damage Control, you can kind of understand why they would want to not want these type of people just walking around unchecked, because you see the movie shows you what they do when they are walking around unchecked. But the movie doesn't really call this out. The movie doesn't say, you're actually violating, just checking the time, you're actually violating who people are and their bodies and their minds with what you're doing. And so after Jean Grey has essentially stun-locked the entire Manhattan and has caused numerous people to be killed and injured and everything, Frank Castle, the one individual in this movie that actually sees the situation for what it is, even though they play his character as a kind of like a comic relief, in my opinion, in the movie and stuff. He does the one thing. He's about to do the one thing that actually makes sense. He's getting ready to take Jean Grey's fucking head off with a 50 caliber sniper rifle. And this is why I think Spider-Man is a smart, stupid guy. He takes the fucking bullet for Jean Grey. And this is after Jean Grey has then nearly killed MJ. Has then taken over her body. Taken over, why do I keep saying taken? Taken over her body. Forced her to kiss him. Mentally and physically tortured this man for 2 hours. In our time. Days in their time. Just harassing the living hell out of this man for no reason. A testament to the fact that Spider-Man is the biggest goody two-shoes that you will ever see. He takes the fucking bullet for her. Damn near gets killed. You have the Punisher, one of the most merciless killers in the Marvel Universe, breaking down like a pussy and crying at Spider-Man's bedside. And whether he likes it or not, now there are at least a dozen people now who know that he is Spider-Man, because the doctors who operated on him and things, they had to take his suit off. And so now there are people who know who Spider-Man is. And at the end of it, Jean Grey gets on a bus and she gets to go away. She just gets to disappear into the ether and is never held accountable. And a YouTuber that I watch regularly, Jester Bell, she brought up the reason why they keep writing characters like this. She calls it I think she called it the teenage white girl syndrome or something like that, where a lot of these writers, they're middle-aged or arriving to middle-aged white females who never got over their turbulent teenage years and they've been gone through you know, therapy and stuff to deal with their issues and stuff, and they're writing their issues. They're projecting their issues onto these characters. And because if you look at it, there's a trend here. You have Jean Grey, you have Wanda from what was it? Scarlet Vision and Scarlet Witch. With, you know, I don't know. I'm totally doing this off the top of my head. I don't have a script or anything, so I'm totally committing this from memory. But you have the Scarlet Witch and Vision. You have She-Hulk is another one. You have, you know, you have Rey from Star Wars. You have these really like terrible women characters who even some of them are presented as heroes, and just personality wise, character wise, they're not heroes, they're villains. And they tried to say that Jean Grey was morally gray, no pun intended, that she was morally ambiguous. No, she's a terrorist. You know, Bear is more like a serial killer, and Jean Grey is a terrorist. And it goes to this thing that I've noticed over the last few years. Not to sound like a misogynist, not to sound like an incel or anything. Though those are people that I detest also, but this need to show that women are just as good as men is being taken to extremes that's just ridiculous, because now it's women, the women who write these characters, or I would even say the men who write these characters, they're like, we want to show that women can be just as evil and just as sociopathic and cruel as men can be. And not only can they be as psychopathic as a man can be, but they should also be given a pass for that same psychopathy that is presented in these pieces of media. They can kill, they can destroy, they can essentially ruin the lives of anybody that they come across, and they should be allowed to get away with it. Now, Jean Grey in the comic books, though, although she does have her issues, she is a hero at the end of the day. You know, she's just got a very unfortunate set of circumstances that surround her character. You know, her mutant abilities, as her mutant abilities were coming to fruition for her, she mind linked with a friend after she got hit with a car, and when her friend got hit by a car and as she was dying, she felt the last vestiges of her friend's mind as she was, going to the other side and everything and stuff. And I imagine that would fuck anybody up. You don't see this with Jean Grey. You don't see any remorse. You don't see any, you don't even really see any trauma. You see her sadistically enjoying torturing people. And it kind of reminds me of another movie that came out a long time ago now, Gone Girl. And this woman, because her husband had cheated on her, I believe, she fakes her death kills several people, then comes back and gets knocked up by him and traps him in and baby traps him. And she gets away with it. They usually fall into a single demographic. They're always women. They're always white women. You don't ever see any woman of any other ethnic background being able to do this shit and then being able to have excuses made for her getting a pass. Jean Grey, literally, for all the havoc that she has wrought on the people in this story, not just Spider-Man, she gets told that she is beautiful, and when she finally is able to invade Spider-Man's mind, and Spider-Man's Aunt May, deceased aunt, is speaking to her as an avatar in Spider-Man's mind. Aunt May tells her that she's beautiful, and essentially haters are going to hate on you because and that's that. After she's then murdered numerous people, injured numerous people, psychologically tortured Spider-Man, she gets essentially a pep talk and everything, and her and Spider-Man hug it out, and then Spider-Man ends up taking a bullet for this bitch. And old girl Jester Bell, she the way she explained it, I understand what they're now why they're doing this. A lot of these people are writing their issues into these stories, their teenage awkwardness into these stories, and then they're selling it to us, and we're being made to watch, and us having this belief that villains should be punished, or being forced to watch these villains who are, just because they are of a certain gender and of a certain ethnic background, we're forced to watch them be mollycoddled, no matter how horrendous their actions are. Anyway, I've been going on enough about this. I'm going to a new church with my brother and everything and stuff, and so I got to get off, and I'll see y'all in the next one. If y'all have any thoughts or opinions about it, give them in the comments section. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm a one-man operation. I'm doing this entirely. It's just me. I have no studio. I'm making a car video. Car videos in my car. Anywhere I can and stuff. And I'm just trying to get this channel off the ground and get my thoughts out there on the things that are going on out there. But peace.